Where does the world's largest source of recycled steel really come from? Not from mines, not from mountains, but from something far more familiar. Every year, millions of cars reach the end of the road, silent, abandoned, written off as waste. But inside each one lies a hidden reserve of metal powerful enough to build cities. What happens next is not disposal, it's transformation. And once the process begins, there is no turning back. Across the United States alone, more than 12 million vehicles enter this system every year. Nearly 95% of all end-of-life cars are recycled, making automobiles the most recycled consumer product on Earth. This is not a scrapyard. It is an artificial mine, a system capable of recovering up to 75% of a vehicle's total weight, from steel and aluminum to glass and plastics. Each cycle saves as much as 74% of the energy required to mine new metal. Behind it stands a global industry worth tens of billions of dollars. But before any metal is melted, before any steel is reborn, every car must pass through a controlled and exact process, and it begins the moment the vehicle arrives. Once a vehicle reaches the end of its life, it does not enter chaos. It enters a system. Each car is delivered to the intake yard, where the process begins with precision. Identification numbers are recorded. Engine details, model year, and condition are logged into a digital tracking system. Every vehicle is photographed, tagged, and assigned a unique code. Nothing moves without being accounted for. This data determines what still holds value and what does not. Some cars arrive damaged but not empty. Engines, transmissions, and electronic modules are still intact. These components are carefully identified and marked for reuse, feeding a global market for second-hand parts worth billions each year. Others arrive with nothing left to save. These vehicles move forward. Lined in rows across the yard, thousands of cars wait in silent order. What appears still on the surface hides a constant flow beneath, vehicles moving step by step toward dismantling it. This level of control is what makes the system efficient. Every car is tracked, every part is evaluated, every decision is calculated, because once the process advances beyond this point, there is no recovery, only separation. Before a car can be destroyed, it must be taken apart. The process begins with the most dangerous component still inside the vehicle, the battery. Technicians remove it immediately. On gasoline cars, lead-acid batteries are extracted and sent for recycling, where more than 98% of their materials can be recovered. In newer vehicles, larger lithium-ion packs are carefully disconnected, sealed, and transported to specialized facilities. Only when all electrical risk is eliminated can the next stage begin. After that, the vehicle is lifted into position for fluid extraction. Fuel, engine oil, transmission fluid, brake fluid, coolant, each one is removed through sealed systems. A steel probe pierces the tank, and within minutes, every drop is drained into controlled storage. Even at the end of its life, a car can still contain several gallons of flammable liquid. Left untreated, it would be a hazard. Here, it becomes a resource. Once fluids are removed, dismantling moves deeper. Wheels are taken off. Tires are separated for shredding or reuse. Glass panels are cut free. Doors are opened, not to be used, but to be stripped of motors, wiring, and internal components. Piece by piece, the vehicle is reduced, but the heaviest components still remain, and they hold the greatest value. Once the valuable components are removed, the structure that remains is no longer a car. It is material. But before it can be processed, it must be reduced. The vehicle is moved into a rough processing zone where hydraulic machines take over. Massive steel arms fitted with shears clamp down with tens of tons of force. Exhaust systems are torn away. Radiators collapse in seconds. Loose plastics and insulation are stripped from the frame. This is not careful work. It is controlled destruction. What remains is a clean shell of metal, steel and aluminum, ready for compression. Next, the frame enters a hydraulic press. Under forces reaching up to 200 tons, a vehicle more than 4 meters long is crushed into a dense block, its volume reduced to nearly a tenth of its original size. Some machines compress it into compact cubes. Others flatten it into sheets or cut it into sections. Different methods. Same result. Uniform mass. But compression is only preparation, because the real transformation begins when these dense blocks are fed into the shredder, where entire vehicles disappear in seconds. And what comes out no longer resembles a car at all. What leaves the shredder is no longer a structure. It is a chaotic stream of fragments, metal, plastic, rubber, and dust moving together at high speed. But within seconds, order is restored. The mixture travels along a sorting line designed for precision. First, powerful industrial magnets sweep overhead, pulling out carbon steel from the moving stream. Large pieces snap upward instantly, separated with force and accuracy. What remains continues forward. Next, eddy current separators come into play. Using rapidly changing magnetic fields, they repel non-ferrous metals like aluminum and copper, pushing them onto separate paths. No hands, no hesitation, only physics at work. Lighter materials, plastics, foam, fabric, are removed through air classification systems. Controlled airflow lifts and diverts them away from the heavier metals below. Layer by layer, the chaos is stripped away. What began as a complete vehicle is now divided into clean material streams: steel, aluminum, and copper, each isolated, each ready for reuse. From a single car, this entire process takes less than an hour. But separation is only half the transformation, because metal alone is not enough. To begin a new life, it must first be melted. Once separated, the recovered metal is no longer waste. It becomes feedstock. Bundles of shredded steel are transported into one of the most intense environments in modern industry, the electric arc furnace. Here, transformation begins again. Graphite electrodes descend from above. As electric current surges through them, an arc forms, bright, violent, and hotter than molten lava. Temperatures rise beyond 1,600 degrees Celsius. In minutes, solid scrap begins to glow, soften, and collapse into liquid metal. The structure of the car is erased. What remains is pure molten steel, but even now the process is not complete. Impurities still exist. To remove them, lime and flux are added. These materials bind with unwanted elements, forming a layer of slag that floats to the surface. At the same time, oxygen is injected to burn off excess carbon and refine the composition. Sensors monitor everything: temperature, chemistry, density. Nothing is left to chance. From a chaotic mix of shredded fragments, a controlled pool of liquid metal emerges. Precise, measured, uniform. But molten steel cannot remain here for long, because the moment it leaves the furnace, it must take shape again. The molten steel does not cool inside the furnace. It moves. Guided through sealed channels, the glowing liquid flows into a continuous casting system. As it enters water-cooled molds, the outer layer solidifies instantly, forming a hardened shell while the core remains molten. Slowly, the material is pulled forward. What was once liquid begins to take form. Long strands of steel emerge, billets and slabs stretching across the line. Inside, the heat is still intense. Outside, the structure is already solid. Precision controls every second. Cooling rates, shape, and internal consistency. Nothing is random. Once formed, the steel moves forward into the rolling mill. Massive rollers compress and stretch it repeatedly. With each pass, the metal becomes thinner, longer, more uniform. From heavy blocks to flat sheets, from raw mass to engineered material. High-speed sensors scan for defects. Thickness is measured in real time. Any variation is corrected instantly. Then comes controlled cooling. Water sprays and air systems reduce temperature without damaging the structure. The steel stabilizes, gaining strength. At the end of the line, coils and sheets are cut, inspected, and stored, ready for use. But the journey is not over, because this steel is about to begin a new life. From the outside, the process looks destructive. A machine dismantled, a structure erased, a vehicle reduced to fragments. But nothing here is truly lost. What began as a car, once driven across roads, carrying people through years of use, has now been transformed into something entirely new. Steel coils leave the plant and move into other industries. Some will become beams for buildings, others will form bridges, machinery, or the frames of future vehicles. In some cases, the same material returns to the road, reborn as another car. This is the hidden cycle behind modern industry, a system that turns waste into supply, that reduces the need for mining. Yes, that saves energy at scale while feeding global demand. An artificial mine? Without limits. And it operates every single day because as long as vehicles reach the end of their life, this process continues. Quietly, precisely, repeatedly. Which raises a final question. The car being driven today, where will it end up next?